They gave a few things that we could talk to her about, but I'm still not entirely clear what her role is. Apparently Rob has a contract.
Yes. Welcome to the meeting of the Woodley Town Council's Planning and Community Committee. Woodley Town Council meetings are now recorded with recording streamed live and stored on the Town Council's YouTube channel. By virtue of attending the meeting, you consent to having your image and audio recorded for this purpose. If you do not wish for your image and audio to be recorded, then please do not stay for the meeting. For those in attendance, we're not expecting a fire drill tonight, so if you hear the fire alarm, please head to the nearest fire exit and congregate at the fire assembly point by the open centre in front of Woodford Park. Thank you. Right. First item on the agenda is apologies.
Yeah, we have apologies from councillors Horskins and Sartorial.
Thank you very much. Do we have any declarations of interest from the committee? Yes.
On the planning applications 251501, just let you know, I know one of the people who's got objections.
Right.
So
doesn't really matter.
okay, I just thought I'd tell you.
Okay, right, that's okay. Yeah. Fine, thank you very much for that. Right, and item 3 is minutes of the Planning and Community Committee meeting held on the 17th of June 25. Are you happy that these are a true record and I can sign them as such? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Right, actions and follow-ups. On page 3, we've just had a look at those. I think actually they're either in hand or no further updates on them. Is there any slightly?
Citing specifically, we've got 2 minutes on there, 115 and 116, connected with the Woodley design statement, which we've had open for a while, which I'd kind of raised. And you'll remember that I was kind of prompted by wanting to understand what value this committee brings to that planning application process and what we can do to make sure we're being effective there. And my understanding with it all was that everybody in Woodley has the opportunity to comment on planning, but our role is to speak rather on behalf of the wider community. And so that's not just the people who are directly affected. And there are a number of things that we can look at, impacts on environment, blah, blah, blah. So, and in fact, that was covered in your press release. So, and I suppose the question that then came to me was, well, how do we speak for the local community, this group of people here? I mean, we all bring something to the table, but I think with the best will in the world, you can't say that we actually a good reflection of the demographic of the people who live in Woodley. And then, I mean, that was why I was very interested in the design statement, because back in 2008, this council actually, as part of a wider piece of work, looking at community vision and what have you, this was included as part of that. And so there's almost a kind of a validation there of what we're doing here, because we'd actually went out and asked people what they wanted to see in Woodley. So we've got 2 kind of open things. One is about when the local plan, the borough one, is implemented, having a look to see whether there is a benefit in keeping, updating the design statement, which hasn't been updated for nearly 20 years. And the other thing, which was more sort of confined, was could we identify what's in there at the moment that would be useful for us to have a look at? So that's 116, and I have been through it all again, and essentially it would be good if everybody on planning actually reads that, but if you can't manage the whole thing, page 6 has got a summary of the stuff that we're supposed to be looking at, and I think that there will be some value in us referring back to that. It's undermined slightly by the fact that it's so old, but nevertheless, that at some point, we have asked people about what it is they're looking at. So I think we could close that if we just minute the fact that it would be valuable to do that. On the sort of wider point, things have moved on since I raised this, and in particular, we've made a start on defining and kind of fleshing out our budget process. And so we've already got a starting point of this sort of the bones of the process. But this is, we're also going in for some consultation with people in Woodley. And I think, again, it would be an idea for us to refer this to Strategy and Resources. I think they're responsible for the budget process because there's loads of good stuff in there. And again, when you read it all through, it covers housing and commerce and industry and so forth. And it's actually almost a basis for how we consult with people in Woodley. And I think we probably, we haven't got time to do it for this round, but perhaps the one after. I think we should, if we can leave 115 open, because I think, again, it'll be worth having another shifty at it when the local plan comes out. But I think it would, if this committee can, refer it to our colleagues in Strategy and Resources.
The chairman of Strategy and Resources here, how do you feel about that?
I'll take guidance from Kevin.
I mean, there's no reason why not. If you think that that's an exercise
Just to read it.
Worth doing. I think it depends what
we should read it.
Yeah.
But you won't necessarily know it's there, Keith. I mean, I stumbled over it.
I mean, we can distribute it in a way to all councillors and encourage them to do that. I think it's a question of what you want S&R to do with it if it goes to that committee.
Just draw it to their attention. I was just thinking at this point, just drawing it to people's attention, because as I say, why reinvent the wheel when we've clearly done this effectively once before? And actually, I mean, it was signed by Kay, so she's probably an expert on all this consultation. So that was all I just wanted to flag with that.
Right, thank you. Anything else on action to follow up before we move on?
The only thing can I just draw everyone's attention to minute 29.2 from the 17th of June 2025. The committee, I think on behalf of Councillor Baker, asked about cutting back the sign on the route into Woodley on that run. Yeah. I drive past that. I've seen that they've cut it back, but it is only visible from about 50 yards away now. So where it was completely
I came
covered,
through
it's now.
today and it's not.
They've definitely cut some foliage, but it's still absolutely useless because you can't see far enough back down. You've got to be really, really, really close to that. So I can follow up and say that as we asked first time, we need that to be remedied more long term rather than just cut it back, because it won't take weeks for that to be covered again.
Could we put a press release out or something on social media that says, is this the most hidden road sign in Wokingham Borough? Maybe that would shame them into doing something.
That's the other thing.
Yeah, I think it is relatively visible when you're next to it.
Yeah.
But I could say it's too late. But
Chairman, before we, don't know why, is this working?
They're
They're all
yeah.
on, that's what I thought. Before we do something on Facebook, I raised the issue about the sign. They did go out and do it very quickly. I then went and had a look and said, as you're saying, Matt, that it should be for the driver, not for the pedestrian. It's lovely for a pedestrian, if anybody should dare to walk there. So I've written again. They've come back and apologised and said they're going to send somebody out and deal with it. So I'm hoping that will happen in the next couple of days.
Could I, sorry, Chair, could I ask you to add an additional email to them? Because you shouldn't have to say this to them, but basically a driver, just before he goes underneath the A329M, should have clear signage to see it. And it's never been, and it wasn't tonight. All I could see from there was about 6 inches of the edge.
Yeah. I went and checked. I don't think you'll ever have clear vision that far back because it's just in the wrong place for that. But yeah, but certainly we can improve it to.
Maybe it needs to be moved. Maybe we should change tack and say this isn't going to work. Yeah. Can we move it?
I'm not letting it go until it's done. So
good.
Okay. very much.
Sorry.
All right, yeah, good.
I know we've closed this, but this is the only place we've actually got on the agenda at the moment, is around the car parking at the museum. And officers sent us out, I think it was yesterday,
Yeah.
all the response back from that. And I just wanted to register, I thought it was very disappointing, not so much in the substantive the decision that they're going to put these charges in place, although I don't think this is actually going to get ratified till August. But there are 50 odd people have taken the trouble to respond to this, and there is no substantive response to the things that they have said. So numbers of people were saying, I haven't got an issue so much about the charging, it's a bit of a pain, but why is it so expensive? There were people concerned about who walk there regularly but drive to get there, about the cost of it. And there is a sort of passing mention to season ticket information, but I thought, would it have killed them to put the link on? Because actually, if you do walk 3 or 4 times a week there, it's certainly worth doing. And there were questions raised about how much the setup costs for all of this and how much it's going to yield. And I don't think that's an unreasonable question for council taxpayers to ask. And again, there's no information that I could see on there. It just says officers have considered the grounds of the objections and have concluded that restrictions proposed are justified and will have a positive contribution to the relevant location. You think, why? I think it's really sort of poor that that's the sort of response that people are getting, having taken the trouble to respond to it. And I've just again asking the officers. I think it was the last meeting, or was it full council? They were talking about this new ability for councils. Parish councils go and ask questions. Yes. And I wondered whether this meeting that's being held on the 21st of August, just to sort of consider this at Borough, are we allowed to go to that? I don't know.
That's an executive member decision, isn't it? IMD. It's an internal practice.
You can go, but you can't participate.
Oh, right, okay. Well, I should be on holiday anyway, but I just thought if there's an opportunity to ask a question, it would be, and I think it's a really sort of poor response and doesn't encourage people to participate. If that's the sort of response you get, it's not a proper reply at all. It's just that we know better.
Okay.
Can I follow on? And this is getting too scary. I totally agree with you. Sorry, but looking at some of those responses, the stock response from the officers is we're bringing it in line with Dinton Pastures charging regime. Many of the objections were pointing out that the Dinton Pastures has the cafe, it has the lakes, it has this, so many things which justify the charge. When it comes to the airfield at the museum car parking, there's nothing. And just picking up what you just said about, this is going to make a contribution to the area. What? Does that mean they're going to be cutting the verges more? Because there is no facilities there. And that was made very strongly by residents. And their conclusions are always, this is purely a money-making machine.
Which is, is not a wrong thing. If we're looking, or the Borough Council looking ways to raise money, my issue with it is it's just treating your residents with respect. And if they have taken the trouble to raise substantive points, to answer them. And I have to say, I'm getting sort of heartily cheesed off with seeing the war in Ukraine being cited, as it is in Stockholm, for a reason for things we do. I think that's not only disrespectful to our people, it's disrespectful to people in Ukraine that, they're influencing car parking charges in Wokingham. So I think it's just a change of tone and a bit of, respect for democracy, really. But anyway, that's my moan for the day.
Right, we come on to item 5, which is the current planning applications, and we are going to do these out of order. so that we facilitate our members of the public who've taken the trouble to come along. So first, we're going to do 25 Coleman's Lane, which is planning application 251559. And this is householder application for the proposed erection of a part single, part 2-storey side/rear extension and changes to fenestration following the demolition of existing porch, conservatory and garage. Now, I don't know if we first of all, we'll go to the committee just to see if there's any comments from the committee on this one. 251. Yeah. Right. Does anybody on the committee have any views on this particular application at this stage? Yes, June.
Just really sort of a comment, because we've had this before, haven't we?
Yeah.
Sort of previous design, and a number of objections, but I think we raised about it. The only one that the borough appeared to take into account was there were too many flat roofs. That was the reason they sort of turned it down. I've looked at the old and the new footprint of the extension, which is a big extension, and it's very sort of similar, but my assumption is there are fewer flat roof bits, and it's quite, it's going to be quite sort of imposing thing, but so if they have addressed that issue, I think the chances are that the planning officers will be able to approve it.
Okay.
But
Anybody else before we ask?
I think it's overbearing.
Overbearing.
It's a very, very large extension they're planning there. I don't like the idea of the flat roofs. As one of the residents here highlighted, that window seems on the right-hand side seems to be out of proportion and not reflected on the side elevation. Could be for a couple of reasons. I just don't like it.
Okay. Right, we have a resident who objected. Would you want to make any comments on this one at the moment?
Yes. I live at 23, which is next door. Not adjoined, but the previous plans, I was advised by the council, were rejected on overdevelopment. And this drawing, although slightly less flat roofs, has not scaled back at all.
Right.
If anything, it's almost 20 square metres larger than scaled on the drawings. So again, no intent to scale back, no consideration of council guidelines to build at least 1 metre from the boundary, and it's overbearing and out of character. So that's the summary of my objections. With the drawings, the width of my boundary is compromised in 3 places. If I can draw your attention to page 4, they've drawn an existing plan and a proposed plan. So on that existing plan, just to the left there, if you go over one more drawing to the left, yeah. So that passage along my side of the house, there's a line drawn against the garage, which is existing in that one, and it's drawing away from it. And if you see the photographs, the garage actually forms part of the boundary, the current boundary, and it's been there for over 20 years. No complaints, with fences built on either side of it. In the new drawing, you can see that passage is considerably narrower, and when again scaled, it crosses my boundary 50 centimetres, leaving me with 50 centimetres of side passage. And I don't see how that can be acceptable. If you see the photographs again, when scaled to these drawings, measurements, I would be drawn a rope line through the garden and shown photographs of how much my garden is proposed to build on.
Okay.
And that's on page 7. That's on page 4 we're looking at now. So if you scroll down my document.
sorry, if I understood you correctly, you're saying that the design actually encroaches on
Yes.
your right. Okay.
It's either on or across the boundary by ½ metre. So there you go. For a look at it, sorry.
Is it there?
no higher than that, the actual photographs you can see. So we got twine and measured their scale drawings onto my property, and that's how much it's crossing the boundary. So that's a twine line going on between the photographs.
So can I explain what I think is a ludicrous legal thing, that anyone can apply for a planning permission on any piece of property or for a complete property that they don't own. So for instance, I could put in a planning application to completely demolish your house and build a new one, all right? And the planning committee, the planning authority has to just look at the application and not look at the ownership when they review this. It seems stupid, doesn't it? And illogical, but that's the law. What the law relies on is you would never let me come and demolish your house, right? If I try to do that, you take me to court, etc., etc., etc. But anyone can put in a planning application on any of our properties for extensions or whatever, and the planning authority, it's not just working, but all planning authorities are legally obliged to review it and come up with a decision one way or another. Ownership does not factor into it. Having said that, you know, if the planning committee did, or the planning authority did approve this, then you wouldn't be giving them permission to go onto your land at all. So
Can you say that last bit again?
they couldn't go on your land without your permission. As it is now, right? That includes, for instance, putting up scaffolding.
Scaffolding, that's what I mean.
Yeah, they could not do it without your,
Okay.
and I would say written,
Good to know.
okay? A lot of people don't realise that you can do this, make an application. It's nonsense, it's illogical, irrational, but
Yeah.
that's the way it is,
I got it.
you know.
The
But
other thing with these plans is from the design of the drawings on the lower ground floor of the rear, it looks like they've built or designed 3 sets of staggered, and they have windows in these staggered parts. Assume there's going to be no fence there, so these, when the fence goes back up, these windows will not see the light of day.
but that's their problem, isn't it, though?
Exactly, but again, at the front of the property, they've put the main entrance on the side of the house, which will, again, in scale, they've given themselves 1.5 metres, which will approach on my garden. But if that doesn't go ahead, they will have 1 metre between their front door and the fence to get their furniture and whatnot into their house. So again, it's a ludicrous
So
design.
if they get permission, can you let me know? Because I'd love to see them try to do that.
Yes, Carol.
Yes, just to add to what Keith was saying about the ludicrous planning rules, but there is a requirement for the applicant to serve a Section B notice on if they are encroaching in any way, whether it be the scaffolding, a gutter, or anything into your, for instance, your property, then they would have to serve this notice. But of course, that relies on them knowing that and the authority chasing them up about it. I mean, I think it's very clear from what you're saying and the evidence that this is overdevelopment, and really the reason that it was refused in the first place hasn't changed.
Yeah, and all that's changed is like cosmetic changes
Yes.
to the roofs, but nothing else.
Okay.
Could we just check the decision on the previous one?
The application was 2507.
But it was really the grounds for them bouncing it, just to confirm that we've understood that correctly.
Letter I received just said based on your objections, your detailed objections and of development.
Oh, it's interesting, yeah, I don't remember seeing that on the decision notice.
I think it's clear to see it's overdevelopment. You don't need to know anything, just seeing that picture.
No, I was
It's-
just, I think it's more.
No, I understand.
what did
I
they
understand
say?
where you're coming from.
So if we want to go back
So yeah, I'm going to have to quickly scan it, but in terms of the flat roofing, it says the flat roof design at ground and first floor level lack a sense of conformity with the surrounded built form. So that is obviously an issue. Flat roof is a form is uncharacteristic with the local area and appears at odds with predominantly hipped and barn style front gables and hip main roofs observed on surrounding properties. Unsympathetic roof form would hold wide views from the surrounding public realm. Proposed roof form and design would disrupt the prevailing pattern of development. So that's on the.
What's the bottom line then, Matt, at the end? The bottom line for reasons for refusal?
The application is recommended for approval on this basis.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So that is purely on the character of the area from that. It's the views of the roof and it's the flat roof form. I don't believe. Let's have a look. Loss of life and overbearing. Following the movements.
You might conclude it at the end and say therefore refuse.
It's always in the body of the text.
Yes.
I think they addressed all the points, and the one I read.
The proposed ensuite bathroom extension of the first floor would not result in any undue harm upon the living conditions of adjoining occupiers by way of loss of light or overbearing. So they seem to suggest that first floor element isn't, in their view, overbearing or would cause loss of light.
That was my reading of it, that they went through all of them.
It's only the roof line being out of character with the area the flat roof is lines.
The new design, however, that projects 4 metres at the back is now going to block light to the neighbour on the other side. So she's projected. And they're also encroaching on the back. It's going to be imposing on the back view of the neighbour behind us. And there's also an asbestos shed in between that neighbour and the back of their property. So
that's just for reference, that's the original proposal as a site plan. And that is, I'll try and get them side by side so you can at least have a little bit of a comparison. So that's the new one. This is the new one on the left. That is the original one. It's definitely bigger.
There's nothing to stop us reiterating what we said, even if they don't take it seriously.
So it is referred back to the original planning application refusal, which we consider is still, objection is still.
We can repeat our objections
Yeah.
and note that the footprint of the development seems to be bigger than the previous one. So our
It's stronger than it was in previous. Yeah. Okay, so that's our objection to the planning application. So we would recommend or ask for refusal. Yeah. Everybody happy with that? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Recommending anything.
You are welcome to stay if you want to listen to everything else, or you can go and enjoy the evening.
But yeah, I really appreciate your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Right, we come on to the second application that we're going to deal with, which is 251501 30 Reading Road. Household application for proposed erection of a first floor, side extension, garage conversion and changes to fenestration. 251501. So there's been objections from neighbours, or one neighbour in writing, I believe, which is 32 Reading Road. This was previous rejected plan in 2003, querying the roof lights in loft. I've just put that in, querying the roof lights in the loft. For what purpose? Because it doesn't show you a habitable accommodation in the loft. Am I right?
there is only a first floor on the plan, but there are roof lights here.
Yeah, that's right.
So whether that's just an extra height on there.
Any comments from the committee at this stage, or?
Just a question really, and whether Keith can help us with this. A note in the objection, there's reference to another planning application that's gone in for the same site, for part single, part two story on the back of the house. This hasn't been built, but presumably that's still open, and then this is on top of it, is that right? And how does that work?
We got one in 2003, is that the one you're saying?
This-
last year. There was one in last year, right.
So every planning application has got a time limit, right? Again, some of the planning laws are just stupid. That planning time limit can be made open-ended by just putting a shovel in the ground. That's all. It's so, again, it's another stupidity. Developers use it quite a lot to extend the 6 year, I think it's a 6 year, is it 6 year? 5. Yeah. And they do it.
Yes. It's just what I don't understand is that, I mean, we, one of the things that we look at is whether things are overbearing. So if you want to build something that's overbearing and you break it up into bits and put different planning applications in, each one, I'm assuming, is considered on its own merits.
No, it's cumulative.
Oh, so it will reference it back, right, okay.
So just to follow up on that point, the application that was approved about 18 months ago just doesn't feature in the one that we're reviewing this evening. So I've got no understanding about whether the Christian want to go ahead with it or whether it is, as you say, it's a cumulative thing that they're trying to do. On
the plan, doesn't it show what the development is from the early plan application?
I haven't compared it. I would imagine they're showing as built now and what this proposal
And
is.
again, that's,
And-
Chair, that is the law. You can only compare what the extra, i.e. the application is, on what is there now. You can't do anything other than that.
What I was hoping for was at least an understanding of what the footprint of the other application would be superimposed on the other one.
It wouldn't be, because there is no guarantee that the other application will ever be built.
Indeed.
You know, and so the planning officers can't really, sounds like I actually am in love with the planning officers. I'm not, I think, yeah. Anyway, they cannot anticipate something that might happen when they review. So this, the accumulative effect would be if the other planning application was built or even started, then they would be looking at, you know, this application against the current house plus the new build that they're doing.
The approval will be based on the specific drawings that have been put forward in that application. So if they get approval on both, but then built both, they wouldn't, it wouldn't meet each design because one design would clash with the other. Because they would, obviously the roof line would be different and things like that. So at that point, it would be built incorrectly compared to one or both of those designs because both of the approvals don't show them together. So they'd only, with approval on both, be able to build one or other. But if they got approval on both, that might mean that they would then put an application in which shows both together and knowing that they've already had approval. But
That's
that's
an interesting question, though. I don't know how planning officers would deal with it because it's an awkward one. You know,
Well, the worry is that it would almost past a point of no return before you could raise it as an
it would
objection.
be the usual enforcement issue. If they built it not in line with those approved designs, there would be an enforcement notice put into them which would say you need to make an application on exactly what you've built. And then Wokingham would then reconsider that and either say, yes, you can carry on, or no, you need to knock down what we haven't approved. So it would go through an enforcement matter. So really, they should only build based on which is approved, one or the other.
Chair, can I suggest that we get officers to write and ask for clarification on this point? Because in all the years I've been on planning commissions, committees, town and borough, including chairing the borough one, I've never come across this potential issue. So I think we ought to ask Just ask the question.
Thank you. The question will be asked.
Mr. Chair, I've got a little note beside it here that one or two of the residents actually put in their complaints about terracing effect. It would create a terracing effect. But I also looked on Google Street View this afternoon. I don't know whether you can get it up. What worries me is number 28 seems to have the same extension already built on their property as they're proposing now.
Sorry, jumping down. You're...
That's number 28.
That's
32.
That's 32, is it?
That's the drawings we've got there.
Then it's
That's-
32 then. I thought it was 28. That's
You will see across the road, there is there's a very close gap here between those two properties, much closer than the other side of the road, and similar, you can't see it through the trees, it's a bit wider here, but again, you've kind of got a gap. And on the drawings, there is a separation between the boundary line, not very far, albeit, but it's stepped sideways a bit and stepped back.
Okay. Any other comments? Anything else? What's our feelings? Where do we go as approval or recommend approval or refusal?
No, we're not meant to be recommending approval or
No.
we're meant to be just making an objection
Yeah,
or support.
okay. So basically, we want clarification on how they're going to deal with the application. Yeah.
Can I see the map here, please?
Yeah, of course. Is it that you want to see?
Yeah. We're talking about that hashed.
That will be the proposed development, yes.
Difficult to object to it, I think. In isolation, looking at it in its isolation. It's not huge.
Chair, I think the issue here is to avoid the terracing effect, they should be stepped back, which they are for against what there is at number 30 at the moment, but compared with number 32, it's then in line. And I think that's what's causing the issue. And of course, they're adjoined, so you've got no gap between them. So I think in terms of design, that step back isn't really working. As Keith says, I think apart from that, it would be very difficult to
I think
say
that would be
no.
worth referring to though, because we had something a couple of months ago where Borough picked up terracing,
Yes.
and in fact we missed it because there was a gap, so it's worth flagging it.
So how do we word this one?
Looking at the expert.
Any objections though, as such?
No, I don't think so. Well, I mean, we have the neighbour, you're obviously concerned about it.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with doing it. As Councillor Bragg said, it's not as if I don't have an extension of my own next door. What we felt was the ask was we don't go over the whole garage.
Yeah.
It's step back. If there was a house on the other side of it, you wouldn't get a terracing effect. We think there's sufficient distance between what we built and the invisible house next door that you wouldn't think
Yes.
that. Whereas with this one,
You
you
would,
just got a terraced house.
yeah, I mean, I don't know that we need to say objection, or otherwise we could just say the committee was concerned with the terracing effect because there isn't enough of a step back and shared the neighbours' concerns.
I mean, I'd be happy with that comment.
Yeah, all happy? Okay.
And we're going to ask the question about having two.
I'm curious about that as well.
Yeah, well,
Each one when it's married.
I think the thing is with all of this stuff though, the onus is always on the people who are being affected by it to spot things and then know what they have to do to raise it, and which is tough, isn't it?
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Likewise, you're okay to stay or you can leave?
It's tempting, isn't
It is.
I
I
heard you got some paint that you wanted to watch drying. It's far more exciting.
Thank you very much. Anyway. Okay, next one is 251508, which is land to the north of 6 Woodlands Avenue. And this is permission in principle, application for residential development, including demolition of existing bin store, comprising the erection of a minimum of 2 and maximum of 4 dwellings. And on the drawing, although this is to the north of Woodlands Avenue, it seems to me that it's on Ditham Road, but there you go. Okay. Can we have a look? I think, as somebody said, this was looked at for a development of 1 originally, wasn't it, going back?
In 2022, there was a single dwelling that was proposed on this sort of site, yes.
And that's received approval? Or?
I'd have to check back. I think it was approved at the time. I'll tell you what, I'll find it for you while you're having a chat.
Okay. Okay, so what's the feelings on this one? We've got a sort of, it's only a,
In principle.
in principle for 2 or 4. I think, one of the big issues that you look at is parking, which is an issue. It's certainly if it was.
It's a big issue really, because there's difficulty parking at the moment without the addition.
Yeah.
Maybe another 4 flats going.
2 would be a lot more preferable than 4. You wouldn't have enough parking space if there was 4 flats there. You just would, and the space isn't that big anyway. It's just such a small area. You would need something like at the other end of the flats. There's 2. If you had the 2 again at the other end, it would just marry it up properly. And obviously the bike or bin shed, whatever it's called, that would have to be rebuilt further towards the end, because the residents still need somewhere to put their bins and bicycles, etc. Okay.
But I think the important thing here is they're talking about in principle.
Right.
So all the things you're talking about are the next stage where they actually make an application and say, this is what we want to do.
Yeah.
All they're asking now, correct me if I'm not wrong, Carol, because you're the other experienced person here, is it a plot of land that in principle is valid for building either 2 or 4 properties, but you don't know whether they're going to be flats or whether they're going to be little cupboards or, or whatever, because that's the next step.
Yes, this is all new to me and probably all of us as well. Could you just explain the process of how it works, how the application proceeds from where we are now?
Do you want to take that?
I was just going to repeat what you told us last time.
Basically, the application goes in, it's looked at in the first instance to Woking Borough Council as the planning authority. First of all, it's looked at to see if it's not reasonable, but it's correct. It's got everything, the plans are all there, etc., etc. It's then assigned to a planning officer, and it's that officer's job not only to put it up for, for people to have a look at, so it goes on the public side, but they should also be doing a site visit. They should do that in person. And then they make the consideration of that planning application. But they don't really consider it until they've heard any objections or otherwise.
Right.
And there's an 8-week period that they have to make the decision has to be made within 8 weeks. Otherwise, the applicant could go to appeal for non-determination. So there's quite a narrow timeline. But those, the objections or otherwise are asked for, and then they're looked at and dealt with by the officer. But the officer is working within planning parameters, if you like, planning law. So there's certain things that are acceptable, there's certain things that are not. And how to describe it. So, you know, they'll just go through and look at highways, for example, environmental impact.
Change the remit of actually having 4 flats.
Sorry, can you say?
So they could change completely 4 flats they've put forward now to something.
Well,
Yes.
can I jump in here? They haven't put 4 flats.
Right,
They said minimum 2, maximum 4, could be 3,
right, okay.
right? So we've got to come back to this is all about in principle. Is this plot of land a worthwhile or legitimate plot of land for building on it? Right? So, for instance, if it was greenbelt land and a developer decided they want in principle build on it, the answer is no, because it's greenbelt land, which by and large stops building on it. This is on a corner. An approach would be very much forget the 2 and 4 and hooked up about busy road, vehicular access is going to be difficult. Don't get hooked up on the 2 and 4.
No.
You've got to get to that higher level about.
But that's it, even anything getting in, if something did get okayed there, would be
Yeah.
a nightmare for the residents that are already there. How are they getting into there? Where's everything going to go? Such a busy little road at the back of the precinct there.
So you've got to keep it at that level.
Yeah. Well, that would be very difficult in itself.
And then what will happen is the planning officer will decide, based on the comments you make, will decide on whether that plot of land is valid for building on, full stop. The next step then would be whoever is behind this, or they might sell it on to somebody else, the developer of that plot of land, if they've got it in principle, then has to actually do, like all the other things we've been looking at, the other planning applications, be specific. So two flats.
So we would see everything every step of the way.
Yeah. So the first step is to get this land effectively opened up for development.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
If the planning officer says, yeah, then the next step is the traditional step, which is actually what Karen's been talking about, where you'd get plans and you'd see the ground floor and the top floor and the parking. Yeah, but that's not what you've got here yet. I hope that's sort of clear.
Explain a lot. Just a question I'd like to ask. I never dreamt, living in a flat like that, somebody could come along and just take the bike shed away that we're paying on our.
Well, that will be something that won't be a planning matter. That will be because you're a flat, so it's leaseholding, right? So you'll have paperwork, contracts, and all that good stuff. And somewhere in there will be an obligation to have a bin store. Planning application will also, the original planning application will also have a requirement for bin store. That's fairly standard practice.
But why I am concerned is we're number one at this end, the detached one.
Yeah.
It was my parents in the first place. There was going to be access on the right-hand side as you go in. And then my father bought it before it was built, or planned, bought it. And Hicks's, his doorway was going to be this particular side. Then right at the last minute, they changed it to the other side and took his garden and pulled it in and put a fence right close to his flat because they said they've changed their mind and it might be an obstruction, people getting into their car.
They obviously did it, but strictly speaking, you can't do that because the planning application will have all that detail, that garden, etc., in it. By changing that without the planning officer permission, and that can happen, they can go back and say, we've reviewed things, we don't think it's going to work, we need to change this, that, and the other minor things. And the planning officer could say, yep, that's okay, you've got a variation on the planning approval.
They just took it, and they didn't say,
Mm.
we'll compensate you for the land you've took.
Well,
Just took it.
I'll tell you
That's what makes me so wary on this one.
a very quick story,
Well,
because I was involved in it. You know the pedestrian crossing?
Yeah.
Right? I had to fight a certain individual, you've mentioned the name, tooth and nail, to get that in. He refused to do it, even though it's part of the planning application. And I and the planning officers eventually, because I was then the borough councillor for that area, got it in, and he sent me a photocopy of his cheque that paid for it, 50,000 or whatever, saying, yeah, you've won. Bless him, REP.
June, you put her.
No, I've just, last time we had one of these permission in principle, my understanding was that there are three things we can comment on. So it's the location, the land use, and the amount of development. So personally, I haven't got an objection to them pushing more residential property along there, so that will cover your location and land use. I don't know how everybody else feels about it, but the amount of development, that is something, can we register that as a concern? Because I think, for more dwellings, we've got issues with parking. They will, have to replace the bin store presumably, because the bins have got to go somewhere. They're going to have to, I think under current regulations, they'll have to have a bike store as well, because that's, encouraging a recycle. And I'm at loss really to see how you could accommodate more than two more people.
They also need to drop the curb as well at the other end there, so you've got an in and out.
But that is the sort of detailed stuff. I think what we're at the principal level, and I don't know whether this is acceptable, Carol and Keith, whether we can say two's enough.
That's the permission in principle is actually a very new thing. It's just come into the planning process, and it's kind of a way of testing the water, if you like, finding out if it's likely that they'll get planning permission for something. And it's I think it's a cheaper way of doing it than getting planning advice. And as I was just going to say before June said, land use, location, amount of development, and it's just the amount of development as opposed to the density. But of course, if you look at that plan, there's already it's already dense, not being rude about it, but we have got a density there, and what's being proposed is going to be fairly similar to that. So I think there's a tick on all three of those for the principle of development.
And our problem is that it's just going to be too many flats as you're looking at there for that little area. And the amount of parking is tight anyway, even for the existing ones. And they was always given one space. And everyone's got more than one car. So they're parking along the front, and then they'll all these new people that go in there say they're going to have more than one car. They'll only have one parking space. So where are they going to go?
But the other important test is sustainability. And what I can hear it now, what will be said is, well, people don't need their cars because they're right next to the shops, they're right next to buses.
It's not true, is it?
But no, exactly. So that's the other thing that kind of clouds all the issues.
Basically, if anything's going there, we're just saying.
And that's what you need to say when it comes to those details.
Right.
Just remember everything you've just said. So when we get the full-blown proper application, bang those in and get everybody in there to do it. Knock on doors, get them to do it.
Everyone's in agreement with that lives there. But it's just, so what's the next stage? When do we hear?
The next day,
It's down to the officers.
Yeah, it just depends how long. I mean, they've still got that. I'm assuming it's 8 weeks again for this sort of thing. So
would we be contacted, letters through?
If you've written in as an objector, you will get a reply or an answer back as to what's happened. If there is some concern, you could ask your borough councillor to look into it for you and see what's happening. Maybe chivvy something along.
So they've got 8 weeks to reply to this?
I think so. I haven't worked out whether that 8 weeks is for principal in development as as opposed to, or as well as an ordinary development, but your
Right.
borough.
Just be careful. 8 weeks isn't necessarily a hard 8 weeks. Okay? It is 8, yes, it's 8 weeks, but if they have a legitimate reason why they can't do it in that time, they won't tell you what they're doing, and whoever is doing the application would have to be chasing them, but it could be much, much longer. Ultimately, the applicant, when they get to, actually it's probably the same thing. Ultimately, if it gets to 8 and then it's 10 and 12, 20, 30 weeks, they can actually go to appeal for what they call non-determination. In other words, the planning officer has not determined the application in front of them within the set period of time.
Just for clarification, the 28th of July is the deadline for consultation for making comments, so the decision will come after us. Also, if this were to be approved and you put in comments or rejected, you should get that outcome from Woking. If it's approved and then they put in another application, we as a town council write out to neighbouring properties that we think will be impacted by this, which Woking Borough Council only have to write to those that have share a border, boundary with that land. So we attempt to contact people a bit further wide. So we will try and write to all those people in there. So if you get a letter from us telling you, then it will be saying there is another application in, and at that stage there should be more detail, and you can have a look at the details. So we'll try and keep you posted.
Silly question, but can you appeal a decision?
No,
No.
What, as an objector?
Yes.
No.
you can't, no.
The applicant can. So if Woking Borough Council refuse an application, they can go to appeal. The applicant can go to appeal, not the objectors.
Hopefully, what we've said makes sense to you guys, and you can see what we're saying, and, you know, that's a start at least. Yeah. So it's, that's all we can.
And what I would do as well, this is Coronation Ward, isn't it? Coronation and Bullmarsh.
Yeah.
I would reach out to the councillors. You can find their email addresses up on WBC. Alert them to what you've been saying here, your feelings, etc. And even probably try and talk to them so that when assuming it's agreed in principle, when the proper application comes in, there is a thing that us borough councillors, or former for me, it's called listing. Because this sort of application probably would be determined by an officer, but the local councillor or councillors can force it to go to the planning committee, and the planning committee are made up of councillors under advice of officers, but in essence, they make the decision. So I would suggest you reach out to them and explain everything that's going on, you know, and then if it comes through and the officers of the proper application are minded to approve, they can force it to go to the planning committee. Still might get approved, but it gives another opportunity to air the grievances and the objections.
You would have the opportunity as a representative to go to that meeting and speak. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're only going to allow 3 minutes.
Yes.
Let's not go into detail.
So make it work.
Can you grab them by the throat?
I think that's called assault.
Thank you very much. Anyway, thank you for attending.
The one thing is, if any of you haven't put an objection into Wokingham, get it in before the 25th of July.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for attending. Thank you. Enjoy the evening. Yeah.
Good night.
Good night.
Can I just clarify? So our response presumably is, from what I've listened to, no issue with the use of the land, but would object on 4, and 2 is
And that's so it's the use that's residential, but
Yeah, I don't think we can discuss the numbers because that's for the
No,
next stage.
so why do they bother pushing them in then?
Yeah, well, they have to put a guide
But that's
in.
what I'm saying, so if they're pushing that in, if they'd said 14, would we have been able to say anything?
But we could ignore what we're supposed to say and just add that in anyway, couldn't we?
You can.
I didn't say.
Well, at the end of the day, you can say anything you want is what they will be able to take into account. So if you say something that they can't take into account,
Yeah.
they'll not be able to. But at the same time, it might just prompt them at this stage and prompt the applicant to be aware that there would be objections if it comes in. So if you are concerned by 4, it's probably a good opportunity to say
Yeah.
we would object if it were to come in with 4. That way, at least,
Well, I think it's not even that we'd object, we'd be concerned if it was for these reasons,
Yeah.
because of the parking, because of where they're going to replace, where they're going to put the bin store instead, and there will be a requirement for a bike shed, and given the constraints on it already, that is a concern for us. I mean, we can't object to something we haven't actually seen, can we? But I what's the point of having this process of permission in principle if we're not allowed to flag what the issues are? It all just sort of box ticking, isn't it?
But that's where it's a problem.
Okay. We move on to the first application on the agenda now, which is 251292 52 Antrim Road, household application for proposed single-storey front extension with new fenestration. And we have an objection from a resident of 52, objection from 54, with light blocking lounge and I'll see what I've got.
And there was a lot of
Errors on
objections.
plans.
Yeah.
Yes,
Fine.
errors on plans. But, I mean, truthfully, I couldn't see.
I think it's all for the attention of the officer.
Yeah.
There's some details there that only they could look at and answer. So.
Yes, I think my recollection of this, there were 4 issues I thought weren't strictly speaking planning, and there was a 5th one about concern about the materials being used, and it is actually buried in the application to confirm that it'll be the roof and the facing will be the same. So, but as you say, I think it's sort of technical, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anybody have any issues with this one? No. No? No? Okay. Thanks very much. And the next plan application is 251403 79 Woodlands Avenue. And this is household application for the proposed direction for single-storey rear extension. And we've got objections from somebody in 22 Fawcett Gardens based on the size, and objection from 81 Woodlands Avenue, window overlooking garden overbearing. Any views on this one? Any comments?
It's a very large
It is a
extension
large
again.
extension, isn't it? Yeah.
It's a single story.
Also, if you look on the map, 22 Fawcett is, I mean, they've got quite big gardens here, and that's down there, and the house is up here. And I'm thinking, well,
I think if it was a 2-story, then there'd be those objections would be reasonable. But a single story does go back a long way. But just using up the garden.
Yeah. So, any objections? Nope. Any? No? No? Okay, thank you very much. And 251470 One Housestead Close. Full application for the proposed erection of a first floor side extension following subdivision of existing dwelling, associated parking and amenity land. Now, this is going to the 2 units, as far as I can see, total 6 bedrooms, but there's only 2 parking spaces, so there's an issue, I would have thought, perhaps with parking spaces and overdevelopment. It's very bulky. It's bit difficult, isn't it? It's basically turning house into two, isn't it?
Which we've done elsewhere in Woodley.
Yeah.
The thing is, this is on the corner, isn't it? And I think, you know, like the guard, I mean, I see that's a substation. I wonder what that big structure was in the back. Yeah.
I think that's all paved as well, isn't it?
Sorry?
I think that's all paved at the moment.
The houses along Halstead, that side, there is terracing already, isn't there?
Yes,
Yeah.
terrace.
How many parking spaces are you supposed to have for 3 bedrooms then?
3 bedrooms is just I thought it was 1 point something. It's easier when there's 4 bedrooms because it's 2. But, I suspect that the 2 is what they're meeting the requirements. I don't like sort of subdivisions or adding things in, but it's going to be I think it's a smaller property and, you know, young people do need some starter homes or whatever.
Well, I think because we had an application, didn't we, for the extension, and now it's putting another layer on top, isn't it? So, yeah.
I mean, that property is large, right on the corner. As I said, it's all paved, and there's loads of parking space in the front of that house.
Right.
So even with another building there, I don't like an extension being put on the building to make it into 2 properties, but
Sorry, I'm just trying to find
No, you keep going spinning around, you've gone too far.
It's taken back.
We could just walk over there, actually. It's only across the grass, isn't it?
Spin it around. There it is. That's it. No, you've gone too far. That's it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about amenity land.
Yeah, I was trying to work.
That's
Is
gone,
it that
isn't
full
it?
strip?
Yes, it was any. No, it runs straight up to, you know, the wall will go straight up to the pavement.
Yeah.
To be honest, I mean, I can't see that there's a problem with it. It's not out of character with the road.
No, as long as it's not taking amenity land, I don't have a problem.
I think that's,
literally be talking about that strip. I can't.
Oh, okay.
Hardly amenity land, is it?
Can you just go down Holstead Close?
This way?
That way, yeah. So I can see what's like.
but it's the other way you want to go towards the park, really, because that.
No, that's where I wanted to go because that's where the work, isn't it there?
Step further.
Yeah, because there's a substation. So it's where that, it's there.
So if you go down
Oh, I can't.
Halstead, that side of the road.
Maybe they're going to take over the electricity substation.
I think that extension there is potentially not shown on the location plan.
No, is it?
Doesn't seem.
It's been the family living there, been there for a long while actually, and it's a very large family. So I'm assuming they're moving on.
Or maybe the kids next door.
Yeah.
So you don't have to get involved.
So, any reason to object?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Thank you. Where are we?
Tennyson Road.
Tennyson Road, 28 Tennyson Road, 251472, household application proposed engineering operations to level the rear garden and facilitate the formation of a patio with associated retaining structures, and this is retrospective. So,
Deal with the fence as well, which is.
It is the next one as well.
yeah. So again, that's full application for the proposed erection of a 2-metre replacement fence, again, retrospective. So,
That is to meet the objection.
Chairman, I just had a look at that list today and I don't have an objection to the fence. And you can't see what they might be doing at the back.
No.
What I was more concerned about was a neighbouring property on the right, as you're looking at it, a huge extension, 2-story extension that's been allowed there. And I thought, who allowed that? So that was more to the point. But they've extended this and extended this and extended this. So, but they've done it, you know, I think very well. So
Yeah.
haven't quite finished it yet. But
Okay, so looking at the two applications, which really run into one, are we got any concerns over that?
Nope.
No. So we're happy with both those, yeah? Right. That's that one, and we come on to application 251584, 5 Ash Trees Road, household application for the proposed erection of a 2-story rear extension with associated alterations to the rear and side fenestration following the demolition of the existing conservatory. Okay.
Look to me, or just look to me like the
Yeah, it's just filling in.
I don't think these elevations are necessarily show, because it said proposed elevations, but there's no change to the side elevation here. I don't know whether anyone else saw. They're making a change here, but I couldn't see any.
It just looked like a bit of infill.
Yeah, I
On
mean,
the
I'd also
existing
look quite
ground floor.
ugly.
Yeah.
It's clearly,
Yeah, it is just
Yeah.
purely an infill, isn't it?
it's converting the conservatory to
Yeah.
hard,
Yeah.
which is happening a lot.
Any problems at all with that?
Because everybody's baking in their conservatories.
Yeah, we're happy with that one?
Yep.
Right, this is 251587, 189 Fairwater Drive, householder application for the proposed erection of a first floor extension.
Mirrors 191, doesn't it?
Sorry?
It's going to mirror 191, isn't it?
sorry, I think the 189 is a 2-story. I couldn't see, and I didn't go around there. I was looking on Google Map to see what the extension was on 191, and I think it's a single story. So that bottom right elevation is what they'll get if they only have a single story extension. If it's 2-story, then fine, as you say, it mirrors it. But I couldn't tell. I should have gone round there, but so I ran out of time. But Matt's much better at looking around Google Map than I am, I think.
Nice motorway.
Oh, I didn't think of that top view. I think there are 2 single stories at the moment.
Might just be able to see it.
I tried to peek in the back. on Google.
Is it the other way?
So one, yeah, the applicant wants to put a story on top of that.
Yeah.
It's
But
been
next,
blurred,
next door,
but-
they've got their roof
That
is
was a
solid.
tornado that came through in 20.
all of the last one, the fence one is blurred as well. I didn't know why. I wonder whether you can apply to have your property removed from the searches and it blurs them. I don't know, but I recognised as you were going through round that, all of it's blurred. You can't see any of it. Anyway.
It wasn't just me.
There's that the over.
There it is.
Yeah.
There you go. So it's that pitch there is the one next door, that single story.
Yeah,
So they're just talking about going up another.
that's it there.
But they're only single story on 191.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't see any 2 stories if you just kind of track along the
But
rears.
there's no objection from
No.
191.
No.
Could we express some concern about the impact on the neighbour, number 191, with a 2-story against their single story?
Given that next door have got solar panels there, though, it suggests that they're getting quite a lot of sun from that direction, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So
It's not always a loss of sunlight. I think it's the sort of impact of something rising up above you.
And that's 191's got a pact with them. You get it through, and then
Well,
we're going to do the same.
Yeah, that crossed my mind, yes.
That's what I
They're
would do if I was one.
sharing the application costs, which are quite hefty now.
Sharing the risk.
You want to make a comment that?
I think we should, just to
impact on
recognise that if ever is an agreement.
Everybody happy with that? Yep. Okay. And finally, 251660 11 Ridgeway, household application proposed extension of a single-storey rear extension with flat roof incorporating a roof lantern and new rear-facing fenestration following demolition of the existing conservatory. I think
It's the same footprint.
when you see
isn't
the
it?
plumb plan, it's quite remote, isn't it? I think this one. Yeah, I mean, when you look at next door,
It's single story, it's not going to impact.
But the conservatory's there already anyway, isn't it?
Yes.
So, so,
No objection.
no.
all happy? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Right.
Oh, now we've got to go back to the beginning again, haven't we?
So I'm now going to be able to see the chairman.
Sorry?
I'm now going to be able to see the chairman.
It's not a pretty sight. Right.
Matthew, could you take that down? So, or just move it up.
I couldn't see it
Yeah,
hands.
I can't see teeth.
Oh, I thought you got me.
Couldn't resist.
Must turn that off. Things like
I'd
that.
expect that from Beth, but I wouldn't expect it from you.
I like to do the unexpected.
You certainly do.
Right, any decisions on page 7? I think. Really it looks as though most of those they've gone with what we say comments. Yeah. Any comments from anybody?
Include resolution in principle. They went with us, refusal.
Yes. What lands?
Yeah, and then
Road. Yeah. There's a reckon of another. Yeah. Okay. And tree preservation orders on page 2. Where are we? What's it? No, it's just there. That is it. Yeah. Right. Woodlands Avenue. Enforcement issues on page 9. And enforcement closures on 10. Running a motorcycle business, running a business without planning permission. Road. Those and decisions. No breach, no breach, no breach. Notice served. That's the interesting one. Penalty charge. Notice served. The parade, Fairwater. I wonder what that one's for. I couldn't really remember. Parade, Fairwater Drive.
Which one are you looking at, sorry?
On the enforcement closures.
Closures, yeah.
Yeah, if you go down 3, the parade,
Yeah.
notice served, penalty charge, notice served. I can't remember what the issue was on the Fairwater Drive one.
Isn't it the...
Running a motorcycle
motorcycle-
business.
Yes.
Well, that came up, oh, wait a minute, did we go back?
That was last month's one,
Oh, right, yeah.
last month's meeting.
Oh, no, wait a minute. We've got running a motorcycle business at 3B South Lake Crescent, South Lake Parade, Kingfisher Drive, on the
This was
enforcement notifications. Right, and you're saying the same thing has been happening at the Fairwater Drive? Yeah?
Yeah,
Is that the same property?
I can check the emails that have come through, but that's what it looks like, yes, is the answer. Let me just check the outstanding notices to make sure it's the same. Yeah, that's exactly what's come through from Wokingham, the same. So unless they've copied across wrong,
Yeah.
I'll take it as read.
Okay. Wokingham Borough Council's public budget survey. Let's consider providing a response on behalf of the Town Council to that. It's on Appendix 9, page 11. Is there a timescale on that?
Yes, it's of August.
Oh, right, so there's time then. Has anybody had the opportunity to have a look? Yeah, June?
I mean, I've responded to this as an individual. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I don't feel that we've got sort of mandate to reply to this as a council. I mean, we have no idea what the residents of Woodley think about this, and I don't see what value we'd add, what the four of us think, sending it in. But what I think would be useful for our residents is if we could, on our website, on the latest news and events, if we could just flag this up, that there is a consultation going out. I expect, I don't know, I think it'll probably have gone on anyway, but
I just need to check if I'm right, Kevin. I think the public consultation element has happened and finished. And this is for town and parishes to give views on behalf of the town council.
all right.
Yeah, it was. We did do that at the time to make sure that went
So I
out on the
thought
website.
probably that's the only thing I think we could have had as value as a town council. It's just inappropriate, I think, for us to.
I think the only way we could do it is actually to send this to all councillors and ask for their comments, but we certainly couldn't answer on behalf of the residents, but we could answer on behalf of the town council in some way. But it's
I don't know,
really, it's really difficult.
And the way the questions are worded as well, it is very much sort of personal, isn't it?
yeah.
And the chances of us not reaching consensus of those things, well, they're remote probably. So thank you, but we don't.
Well, on Carol's suggestion, are you saying that it should go out to?
No, it's a suggestion, but I quite agree with Jim that I don't think we'd get any further. And as long as we're doing the best by putting it, you said it's already on the, and it's passed.
So
Right.
we promoted it when it came out.
Yes.
It was circulated to councillors as well and engaged.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I get it from different quarters, so it's good to know.
Right. Transportation and highways, community speed watch.
Nothing to report on that.
No. Highways issues, any highways issues apart from the one that's already been raised again by Keith, and which has been noted and you're going to follow up?
There is another one I've raised
Right.
on, was the sign as you come off of Shepherd's Hill into Reading Road. You can't see that you're coming into Woodley. It's covered by a tree. And I put something in on that, but I haven't had an answer to say they've done anything yet. So it's not so important as the other sign, but we do need to say they're coming into Woodley.
One thing I would mention is that I found out highways myself a couple of weeks ago about trip hazard outside Morrison's in the precinct.
Morrison's, what, the new
And
one?
the new Morrison's, what used to be McColl.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, sorry, you're in,
yeah.
Where the post
And
office is, yeah.
I've got to admit, I was very impressed. It took them less than 2 days to get there and repair it.
Right.
So I was very impressed with that.
I noticed the new, just a few of the new Morrison's, Just Tiles, is being really well used because obviously I think Tesco's are, so it's getting a bit of a problem there sometimes with parking, the amount of cars that are coming off the drive into the road. But perhaps that leaves when Tesco's reopen.
I've raised that with highways. I can't remember who else it was, but what they were saying that it's probably a planning issue that then send it to the planning department because it would depend what the original application said as to which way they should go in and which way they should come out, because that's what's causing the problem.
But it is all marked up, Carol. It's just people ignore it.
Yeah. So I haven't heard back.
And the other thing is they'll come off.
They'll come straight off the curb.
Yeah.
We thought that was going to happen, didn't we? But actually, when we looked at that they weren't going to go round, they were going to drive off.
But it's very difficult, that sort of stuff, isn't it? That people are sort of doing things they shouldn't do. You can't really legislate for that, can you?
Right. No other highways issues? Nope. No. Okay, community issues. Any community issues?
Or just one thing that I forgot to, in my little tirade about the car parking charges. If the car parking charges at the Aviation Museum go through, can we drop a note to Wokingham to ask them to change the sign on Coleman's Moor Road where you get through into pastures, because there is a sign up there, and it's quite big, saying that there are 3 free car parking areas in Woodley. So it's Rickman Close, somewhere else near Southlake, and then also at the Aviation Museum. So if nothing else, they need to come out with a paintbrush and paint over that. Also, we can remove it at some point. But just remind them about that little extra expense that they'll be involved in.
As far as
I would be interested, again, picking up I would be interested what their projected income's going to be, because it's not that many parking slots. People don't go and use it. You know, it'd be interesting to see what I'm not suggesting you do anything, but it would be just interesting.
I've never been stuck for a car parking space there. I've gone various different times of the day, so. But anyway, we've talked about that, haven't we? So.
Right. Okay. Publication information, promise inclusion letter in 25, and Berkshire Association of Local Councils newsletter. Yes. Yep. And future agenda items, to consider any future agenda items. Anything at all that we need to add? No. And publicity and website. Suggestions?
Just a couple of, one thing, is it possible for us to put the My Journey Summer Bike Bonanza at Coronation Hall on the 21st of August on our, ticker tape thing? Because actually that would be a bit of a boon, I think, for people trying to entertain their kids.
Is that being advertised on any Facebook pages? Because I haven't seen it.
I do. It's on the newsletter that comes out from.
Yeah, but like Woodley Facebook, and there's 3
I don't indulge in.
Gossip Girls.
Not
You
so
know,
aware of, no.
The reality is those are the ones that all of Woodley, if they're on Facebook, they're the ones they look at. Now, Woodley Town already put on posts on those already on things. We ought to put this one on there as well, get Anushka to.
My Journey does post on Facebook, but I don't know whether this one in particular.
Yeah, but a lot of people, certainly people I know, if it's coming from WBC or My Journey associated with working in borough, people just move on.
Okay.
Whereas if it's like Woodley Gossip Girls, it's there.
Well,
They do.
I think if we can publicise it anywhere, we can publicise it, because we've had some good support from My Journey team, and we'd like to reciprocate with that and
Are there any
raise.
posters?
Sorry,
Are there any posters?
I don't know. I'm sure there's something you
Because we
could.
could put a poster up in
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
and elsewhere. I'm sure I can't believe they would organise an event like this without having posters.
It's gone out to all the schools, but I don't know.
But anyway, just it's part of our support for that. And then the other thing is just a comment, and I saw the press release on the back of our last meeting. Actually, it was about our role in planning, and I have to say I did laugh about the line that says when we talk about how many applications we looked at. So this means Woking Borough Council agreed with our comments 89% of the time, demonstrating the value of our input in the process. I think that is a bit Pollyanna-ish, don't you?
It's a factual. It's a factual.
It was factual until the point we said it demonstrates the value of our input. I would like to think that Woking and Borough Council are waiting with bated breath on our input. Sadly, I don't think that's properly correct, but anyway, it made me smile.
You will never survive in a marketing PR environment.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody, for attending.